You know, I've tried every single Retroid device since the original Retroid Pocket 3, and there's something interesting going on with these. Every generation they get better and better. For those who don't know, the Retroid Pocket 6 is an Android device. It's designed to run anything from old classics to some modern PC games. And with the price of everything lately, this actually still has some pretty decent value to it. So is the Retroid Pocket 6 worth your money? It's a handheld with a flagship phone processor from a couple years ago, a beautiful screen, incredible design, and I think you should pick one up. Before you buy one, hear me out. Let's talk about the Retroid Pocket 6 and what exactly it is. So let's hop in. This handheld is kind of one of the casualties of just the whole AI boom right now. In the fact being that the high-end SKU with more storage and the 12 gigabytes of RAM was discontinued, at least for the time being. I opted to pick up the 8 gigabyte model. This is the one obviously with the joystick on the top, but you can swap these depending on your preferences. Now that these devices are getting more powerful than ever, I really like to play modern PC indie games on these. But you know, the first thing that you notice when picking up this device is something that I didn't expect. Retroid's other handhelds are really good, but there's something that you notice between these older models and the Retroid Pocket 6. The plastic on the G2 and the Retroid Pocket 5 just feels a little softer, almost like a little thinner, I guess. It's not a bad plastic, but it is slightly smudgy. At the time, this was a really good handheld, and I still think it is if you find it on sale. Interesting thing about this handheld in general is it still has that not really a toy feel, but it doesn't quite feel like a first-party handheld. The Retroid Pocket 6, in every single way, just feels more refined as a whole. The biggest improvement that I've noticed is this plastic. The plastic just feels so much more solid. It matches or beats first-party controllers that I've seen. Absolutely incredible quality. Like I said, not bad on the Retroid Pocket 5, but you will feel a big quality improvement jumping to the Retroid Pocket 6. If this is your first emulation handheld, you're in for a real treat. A lot of people are concerned about this being limited to 8 gigabytes of RAM, but to be honest, I think the more limiting factor is the 128 gigs of storage. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let's take a quick look at the device itself. On the front of the screen, you get the select and the start buttons. Because this is Android, you also get a home button and a back button. It's not a bad D-pad by any means, and it's very resistant to false diagonals, which is the same one that Retroid has been using for years at this point. On the top, you get the classic Retroid joysticks. There's a subtle texture on the edge, which makes it very grippy. I absolutely love that. The cap has a nice rounded top on it, but it is very rubbery. On the other side, we get our face buttons, of course, and their rubber membrane. Nice and quiet, and I really like that about it. In fact, nearly all the controls on this device are extremely quiet. It's kind of my preference when it comes to devices like this. I play these outside on the go a lot, so I don't really want to bother a lot of people. On the top, some Switch style bumpers and some excellent triggers. One thing that Retroid does well is just to round these out on the edges. When you wrap your finger around the edge, usually you'll notice this sharp angle, but the Retroid Pocket 6 is slightly more rounded over here. You're not feeling the edge of this cut into your finger. The bumpers are slightly clicky, not too clicky, but definitely not quiet. You can also press them from any angle. They're not harder to push the higher you go up, which is usually the case because there's a slight pivot here. This is where they usually connect. Retroid has like a little lever that goes down, and then the hinge is kind of somewhere around here, which means you get the same pressure across the entire bumper. Continuing around the top, you also get the power button, which is nice and soft, and you also get the volume buttons. I think this is a really good placement for it, honestly. On the bottom, you get a micro SD card slot, and it's really easy to open. You also got a 3.5mm headphone jack, which is something that phone manufacturers could definitely learn something from. And you also get a USB-C port, which does support video out. You could connect this to a TV and effectively just use it as a console. on the back, you get some programmable paddles. The good thing about the back paddles is you actually require quite a bit of pressure to push these. Not enough that it's going to be annoying, but yeah, you're not going to press these by accident. I also really enjoy the design that they put on the back. It's kind of a nice texture to grip onto. You also get the ventilation out up at the top. It's kind of an interesting placement. Usually manufacturers put it up on the outside edge. This means that if you're gripping it a little too high, you will feel the heat on your hand. Not enough to bother me, but definitely something to take note of. And there's also a massive ventilation on the back too. The fan is not super quiet, but it's much quieter than the Odin 3. It doesn't take too long to start up either. Because this uses UFS storage, it's pretty quick overall with things like updating or installing apps or even just general boot up. So what is it like holding the device? Handhelds need to be comfortable, and when it's this small, that usually is a trade-off. With average size hands though, I've been playing this without any issues. What I do is generally just spread my hands across the back, which is very comfortable. You get really good rounded edges on the bottom, which is very comfortable in the palm of your hands. You can reach all the controls totally fine. Generally with this joystick, I use the pad of my thumb to use it. Because it's a little shorter, if I arc my thumb down like this, it's just not as comfortable. And you can still access the D-pad if you need. If you're planning to play retro games with that, definitely look at the D-pad up on the top. I guess the other thing that's kind of cool too is you don't get any bezel. I personally really like this yellowish orange. The black on this orange looks so good in person. Don't you just love that color scheme? So I guess might as well just take a general look at the OS first. You can adjust the fan too, so if you find it a little too loud, you can bump it down. Keep in mind that this might make it a little hotter. In PC gaming at max, I'm seeing maybe like 80 degrees Celsius. Give it a try with this and then stress test the GPU too before saving that. If it gets too hot or just a little too annoying, you can adjust these. Also shows you where you are currently. Because I'm not doing anything with it, it's sitting pretty cool. You can even add some RGB colors to the joysticks. Pretty cool, isn't it? And you're also going to notice it does have charging separation and a 120 Hz panel. In the options, you can even set a charging limit. There's nothing really else in the settings worth mentioning up here on the top. So what about the general OS? There's some battery settings. I like to turn off the battery saver and the battery manager, but I also like to show the battery percentage in the top bar. Average use shows about 6 hours of battery life. Not horrible. Bear in mind that the TDP of this chip will go up to about 12 watts. Yeah, this is one of the big limitations of this device is the storage capacity. It's enough for the games that you're going to play on it, especially Android games and like PC emulation. You're probably going to have to install only a few at a time. I maybe have like a dozen and I'm down to 53 gigabytes. In the display settings, in the settings menu, you can click colors and there's a few different options that you can adjust. It does want you to use the intelligent environment adaptation, but what I find this does is it's a little distracting. It'll change the colors automatically. I like to leave it to either standard mode or screen enhancement. And I also find this a little bit more natural if you use the warm tone. The only other option that you're going to find in the settings that's a little neat is at the very bottom of the list called the handheld settings. There's a lot of different things you can do here as well, like clean processes on standby. I don't usually do this because if you have a game up and you put it into standby and come back, well, chances are it'll probably close that game. I also leave it to standard limit, but if you want to decrease your RAM usage, limiting background processes is not a bad idea. You can also control the settings when you're connecting it to your TV. Sometimes you don't want to turn off the handheld screen because you need to have control input to it. But you can also change the settings to show, like 4K 60, or if you want more refresh rate. So if you're using a monitor, you can use maybe like 2.5K at 144 Hertz. I just leave it to adaptive. It does a pretty decent job at adjusting whatever it's connected to. If I'm going to connect it to a TV, it's going to be 4K 60. So you could always just set it manually if you prefer, but it doesn't really matter. You also got your charging options. You can adjust the rumble. You can disable or enable the USB connection status and show your network status here too. You can adjust the programmable paddles on the back to whatever you prefer, and you can change the controller style. I like to use the Xbox, but if you want the Switch style with the B on the bottom like it's set, you can use Retro. The L2 and R2 mode, I would recommend leaving this to both. This means it'll work in systems that support only digital, but it'll also work for systems that only support analog triggers. It's nice to have the flexibility. And here's a trade-off that I guess we're all having to pay lately. The virtual RAM swap is a nice addition. It lets you basically use the internal storage of the device as extra RAM. If you're having issues with games crashing or going up to that 8GB limit, to be honest, I haven't noticed any, but you could enable that if you want. Keep in mind that that already comes out of your very limited internal storage capacity. Virtual memory is also not even close to being as fast as the RAM that's already on board. So for me, I just recommend leaving it off, unless absolutely necessary. I also like to shut off the boot music. It can be a little awkward if you're in the middle of a cafe and you're turning it on, but you left that boot music on. What have I actually been playing on this thing? That's where things get kind of interesting. As you can already tell, I haven't really put a launcher on this yet because I just kind of using it with Game Native. I don't know, the fact that you can play PC games on a device that fits inside your pocket is just incredible, isn't it? But I do have some great Android games on here too, so let's check them out. If you want something with high replay value, Skull the Hero Slayer is definitely your game. You basically control a little skeleton guy, and you can swap heads with him as you go along, and each different head gives you a different power. It's all procedurally generated too, so there's a lot of replay value with it. With the Pocket Max that I tried this on recently, none of the controls worked, but it's working absolutely fine on this one. One thing that people might be worried about is that the UI on these games is a little too small. I personally don't find Android games that problematic with a screen of this size. It's about the same size as your phone screen, just 16:9 aspect ratio. Even games that have more of a small overlay like Loop Hero are still really easy to use. Man, I love this. This game is actually so much fun. If you want a high quality game and a really good way to spend some time on the go, make sure to check this one out. Cool thing about this one too is that it also does not require a lot of resources. You can get a ton of battery life from this game on this device. It's a fun little game, but the loop is just so addictive. And the combat is pretty fun too. They also give you a couple different heroes you can use. I'll leave a link down in the description if you're interested in checking out any of these games. They're pretty fun on Android. Light Android gaming, absolutely flawless on this chip. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 in this device is pretty top-notch. It was a top-notch phone chip for many years. For racing games on Android, it's really hard to beat the quality of Wreckfest. I've turned the texture quality up to high, FPS limit to 60. Screen scaling, I'm going to set it to extreme for now. We'll see how it does. Dynamic resolution, I'm going to set this to quality. Shadow quality is going to be set to high. Grass amount is ultra, and the effects quality is high. I'm also going to shut off motion blur, vignetting, sharpening. I'm going to leave anti-aliasing to 2x. I'm going to leave on the bloom too. It's pretty smooth. There's the occasional hiccups, but this is easily resolved by dropping down the screen scaling to ultra. On a screen of this size, you don't really notice the quality difference, but it's nice that you can max out the other settings too. These are excellent analog triggers too. Just look at that range. Like I said earlier, it's really nice to just be able to use this without it hurting your finger. That edge is not sharp. It's a nice, smooth, rounded trigger. Absolutely love the design. And the bumper is really good too. It wraps nicely around your finger. Easy to use. What about the most demanding game that I know on Android? Let's give Subnautica a try. For the graphics, I'm going to set this to high. I think that's the highest it'll go. Yeah. And then the resolution, I'm going to set this to, we'll just leave it one step below it, very high. FPS cap, I'm just going to leave this at 60 again. Yeah, let's give it a try and see what it looks like. That's pretty smooth. I think if you're looking to get something for Android gaming or even just high-end emulation, Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is by far one of the best choices you can get. I think I'd go as far as to say is if you want something for emulation, it's hard to beat the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. The last device that I had that was similar to this was the Odin 2 Mini, and the only issue with that one was the panel. This is an AMOLED screen, and it's absolutely gorgeous. At max brightness, it's extremely bright. I wasn't able to see any light bleed or any dead pixels. There's also no uniformity issues because it's AMOLED. You don't get a backlight on it. Each pixel is individually lit. It provides a nice, smooth, uniform color. Because it's AMOLED too, black is just shut off. It's a beautiful screen. I set both of these devices to 4K HDR, and let me get the lights. Bottom is the Odin 3. Both are at max brightness, and they're both fantastic screens. I think the Odin 3 might be a tad brighter, maybe a little bit more saturated, but I don't know, at this point, it's too hard to tell. They're both really nice screens. Here's the Odin 3, beautiful, vibrant, lots of color. And here's the Retroid Pocket 6, still a beautiful panel. Gotta be careful how I hold it, because if I turn it a certain way, the camera picks up some lines on the screen. It's not something you see in real life, just something the camera's picking up. I don't know, I'm curious. What do you guys think between these two screens? These are my two favorite Android devices right now. If I had to pick between either or, they're both really nice. Panels, something that matters to me a lot because you're looking at the device obviously to play games and you want a good experience. Really quick panels too. Being AMOLED screens, you're not going to see any ghosting on them. Here's something that I also like to talk about is the DRM. Because obviously it's kind of like a little mini tablet. If you're on a flight or on a train or just on the go, sometimes it's nice to actually watch movies on these. You do have Widevine level 3, which gives you 1080p in Crunchyroll, but not 4K in Prime Video. I like watching a lot of anime on the go, so it's perfect for me. I gotta admit, it's a beautiful screen for some vibrant colored anime too. What about the thing that I enjoy playing the most on this? Game native. Being limited in storage and RAM, you think the experience would be pretty bad, but it's so much better. Light games like Coffee Talk are super easy to run and really light on TDP. We're talking like under 5 watts to get these running, which is just mind-boggling. Megabonk is also a really fun one too, and I think that's kind of what a lot of these systems are aimed at, just lightweight indies. It will go up to about 12 watts TDP wise, and it does get a little warm. On average, it seems to pull about 8 watts, 8, 8.5, 9.5. If there's a lot on the screen, it will go up to about 10, maybe 11. It does a pretty decent job. Honestly, I'm just so impressed with Game Native on this device. It feels as smooth as the Odin 3 for a lot of these. The Odin 3 being a lot quicker can let you play some higher end games though, so it really depends what you want. Whoa, he almost got me. PC stuff getting expensive, so the fact that you can buy a device that's under $300 and just play, you know, your favorite indies on the go. If you're interested in learning more about Game Native, make sure to check out my guide. I go through all the settings and explain what everything is. It should get you a good start on this emulation. So yeah, I don't know. Pretty awesome. I like it. This is what I use it for. And you see that too? Your RAM usage is really low, 4.5 gigabytes. This is one of the reasons why I'm not overly concerned about the RAM being limited to 8. It sucks about the storage, but 8 gigabytes of RAM is still more than enough, especially for what this chip is capable of. Let me show you what the upper end of this chip is capable of, and it might surprise you. Check this out. Can you guess what it is? Yeah, it's Stray. It's so cool to see it running on this little handheld. I have a save in one of the cities, and let me turn on the performance overlay. Being not as fast as the UFS in the Odin, it does take a little longer to load. But like, look at that. Isn't that just crazy? Once it buffers in, it's pretty stable between 40 and 50 FPS. Now this will push the RAM a little bit more. I'm getting up about 6.5 gigabytes, and it does push the TDP to its absolute limit of about 11 to 12 watts. This is also stressing the thermals out to about 80 to 90 degrees Celsius. It's still relatively quiet. Let me show you what that fan sounds like. guess the best way to explain it is it sounds like a fan, and that's exactly what it's supposed to sound like. It's keeping the device cool, but it also lets you run like AAA indies, if that's a thing. I guess I just made that up. I'm running this in exclusive full screen mode. Resolution scale, probably about 60 or 70%. VSync is off since Android has VSync at the native level. It's not something you need. Also shut off motion blur. The effects are set to low. Texture quality set to low since we're limited with RAM. Mesh quality set to high, but let's just set it to medium, I guess. Yeah, I don't know, 50, 56, 45, 40, 30. Pretty impressed by this little machine. If you go under the graphics, you can also cap your FPS. If you want like a console experience, cap it to 30. Pretty stable 30 FPS. Couple dips, but thing that I notice now too is that TDP's dropped to like 8.5 watts, but the temperatures have stabilized. The FPS is stabilized, and you're not capping out the CPU or the GPU side. If you told me we would be able to play PC games on these little tiny handhelds in a couple years, I just wouldn't have believed you. Can't be the only one blown away by this. Look at it. It's just so cool. Emulation has been tested time and time again on this chip. You know, it can do like high-end emulation pretty decently. There's good driver support right now. I think the Mr. Purple T26 is the best driver for this one currently. You got DRM for things like Crunchyroll, Android games like Subnautica. Everything that I tested just runs great. Skull the Hero Slayer. You know, I don't know. It's a pretty compelling package. Fast chip, good cooling, nice design, great ergonomics. I genuinely think there's very little to not like about the Retroid Pocket 6. And the only things that I don't like about it are totally out of Retroid's control. Just being limited in storage is by far the biggest thing. You can install things like PC games on the external storage, but even light indies are just so slow. At its price, I still think it's worth it. But if you have a little bit more money, the Odin 3 is definitely worth that price jump. If you're fine with just lightweight PC games and you don't need the bleeding edge, you could pick up the Retroid Pocket 6, totally be happy for a couple years. Out of every Retroid device that I've tested, this is by far the most premium that Retroid has ever made. I had a look around the device too for quality control issues. I couldn't find any, guys. The seams all look perfect. There's no nicks. The triggers, bumpers, everything just works perfectly, at least on my unit. I wasn't going to pick this one up because I had the Odin 3. The Odin 3 is pretty big. This one is just so much more portable. My final recommendation, if you're interested in the Retroid Pocket 6, I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's a pretty cool handheld. You can do quite a lot with it. If you want a slightly bigger screen and you got the money, I really like the Odin as a good alternative. The only negative to the Odin is it's still limited to that 12-13 watt TDP. This chip pushes up to 20. And when you're running 20 watts in this little frame, it's just so dang hot. The fan in the Retroid Pocket 6 is quieter, and it's already limited to 12 watts. So am I happy that I bought the Retroid Pocket 6? I think so. It's the most refined gaming handheld that I've seen come from Retroid yet, and honestly, I cannot wait for Ramageddon to be over so these devices can come out again with more storage. Retroid, if you're listening, I think you got something special here. I hope you keep making this for a good while, because I think it's a fantastic handheld. I think a lot of people are going to really like it. What do you think about the Retroid Pocket 6? Is this your go-to handheld? If you want to support the channel, make sure to check out the link in the description below. I always leave non-affiliate links too. I'm just here to give you guys my honest thoughts. Are you happy with the Retroid Pocket 5? Are you upgrading to the Retroid Pocket 6? Or did you pick up the Odin 3? Let me know in the comments below. As always, thanks for hanging out. I'll catch you in the next one. Happy gaming, guys.